But in my heart, I didn't like students, and I didn't like being around them. I didn't like wasting my genius, precious time on their petty junk. I felt like I belonged with these people, and my reward was just for the life that I had lived. And I didn't know. The only strategy that I could think of for making the best of this situation is that if they came back, somehow I was going to have to reconstitute myself so that I could turn on them and show them, which is the philosophy that I've lived my whole life in, of being the biggest, baddest wood in the forest. Because the good thing about intimidating other people is that they're afraid of you and they kind of leave you alone. And I'd been doing that for my whole adult lifetime. I didn't want to do that. I wanted out of this place, and there was no way out. No way out. And in my despair, a vivid memory of myself as a little child came to me. And the memory was of a little kid, maybe 8 years old or something, sitting in a Sunday school classroom, singing, "Jesus loves me, da-da-da, Jesus loves me, da-da-da." But what I remembered was, the words weren't what was important, was just that I remembered as a little kid, I'd believed that there was this supernatural person, a guy, a big guy, a strong guy, a smart guy, a good guy, who thought I was just the greatest kid in the whole world. And maybe because of, like, the family stuff wasn't so good, I'd pretty much latched onto that guy as my buddy. Even though, I mean, it's not like I really saw him, but I just believed him. Matter of fact, when I was 12 years old, I'd gone to my pastor and said, I want to be baptized, because I hadn't been baptized. Because I wanted to get close to the guy. And that's all he was to me. It was just this sweet, kind, powerful person. When I became an atheist, I talked about Jesus all the time. JC this, JC that. But I had renounced him and the ship that he had come in on in my life. And completely disavowed my faith in him. But what I was remembering at this time was that as a child, he was the solution to my problems. Then I was conflicted because since I had only used him as a cuss word for 22 or more years, why would he, even if he existed, which he probably doesn't, I'm thinking, why would he respond to me? Because he probably hates my guts. If he does exist, which he probably doesn't exist. And then I thought, I don't have time for this debate. I need Jesus. So I called, "Jesus, please save me," with zero expectation of anything happening. This prayer, this plea, had no faith behind it at all. None. It was desperation. Pure desperation. Like a guy who's fallen off the cruise liner and yells for, a lifeliner. And a tiny light appeared in the darkness, and it got very bright very fast. And I had no idea what was going to happen because this thing was getting big and bright. And it came before me. It was approximately, the figure inside this totally incredible, brilliant light was maybe 6 or 7 feet tall, but of course the light extended all over the place. And in the light of this person, I saw me. And it was horrifying because I was roadkill. And I couldn't believe what I saw. And hands came out of the light, reached down and touched me. And as if it were fine powder or dust, all the gore and the horror blew away from his light. And I was restored without the hospital dickie, naked, lying there. And when he had touched me, he put his love for me. I'm not talking about some big abstract love. I'm talking about his love for me into me. And so I went from horror and pain to ecstasy with no transition. And that was rough. It was really rough to take. It's like driving 70 miles an hour and going from fourth gear to first gear. You know, my emotional gears were grinding and being stripped down, going from horror to love. And he put his hands underneath my back and very gently, without any effort at all, lifted me up and held me up against him and put his hands around me and very gently rubbed my back like a mom or a dad would with a child, as if he was saying, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I knew that this person was the person that I had called on. I knew he was the person. This was the person that I had loved as a child and that I had been taught as a child to call upon. I knew that this person was beyond my comprehension, smart, strong, good. But the big surprise that I couldn't get over is that he liked me a lot. I'm not going to use the love word anymore because it's so overused. You go, oh yeah, he loves you, yeah, I love him. No, Jesus thinks I'm the greatest thing in the whole universe. He does. He loves me. And the crazy thing is he feels the same way about you, as if you were the only thing in the whole universe. He loves you with that kind of specificness. He likes your nose. He likes your hair. He likes your hands. He likes the way you walk. He likes the way you think. He likes it. He loves it. And it's not too surprising because, he is the creative activity of God. If you read the Gospel of John, 1 John, Jesus is the creative action of God, and all things were made through him and by him, and nothing was made that was not made through him and by him. And those aren't my words, that's John's words. We are his creation. I mean, how many artists hate what they make, He's the creative activity of God, and he likes what he makes. And he makes a lot of it. I mean, just look at the room here. He makes a lot of it, and everyone's like weird and different and crazy and beautiful and ugly and smart and stupid all at the same time. And when you start looking at the world through his eyes, it's just preciously wonderful, lovable, Even the stuff that people say is bad is good. Maybe not what they do all the time, but they are good. Everybody's good. Everybody's beautiful and precious. Everybody. Sometimes they do some really rotten stuff, and that's not good. Anyhow, I started bawling like a baby, and he went with me in his arms. And we go out of the world of darkness, and we're approaching a world of light. And as we're moving towards the world of light, I can feel even more love and goodness and joy and hope as that light is passing through me. The light was permeating me. It was going into me and through me, not reflecting off my surface. Because I didn't figure it out until later. I was moving from opaqueness to translucency to transparency. But that's a whole other story that I'll probably forget to go back to. But anyways. And as I felt that love and that goodness penetrating me, I thought, I'm a piece of garbage. It was actually another word that might offend some of you. He's made a terrible mistake. I don't belong here, meaning going towards the world of light. With that, we came to an immediate halt. And he spoke to me for the first time, putting his words directly into my mind. By the way, I never said it. I never said another thing during the whole experience. He just picked up everything I thought. He said to me, we don't make mistakes. You do belong here. And I think it was the next thing I said was, can you hear everything I think? And he said, and everything you ever thought. And I thought, this is bad. And I said, there are things that I think that I don't want you to know. And he said, I already know everything. And I said, yeah, but I'm not doing that. What am I doing wrong? Every time I do this.
When you lift your hand up by the microphone.
Oh, but it's, okay. Hands down, hands in pocket. And I thought, well, there's things that I can't control. Thoughts that I can't, they just come. I can't, make them not come. And in my mind, I pictured one of my favorite objects in the whole world, a breast. And I went, see, like that. And he said, what's wrong with that? I went, I don't know. I just didn't want him to know. I didn't want him to know that that's something that I thought was really interesting. But anyways, I had to kind of relax, because anything that I was going to think, you can't, you can control your words, but you can't think. You can't control your thoughts. So I had to sort of relax in the fact that he was going to get it. And he kept saying, but I know everything you've ever thought. So like, what difference would it make now? You're not going to think anything new. And so we were conversing like that. It was sort of like getting to know you kind of small talk, first date kind of talk with Jesus. I got to tell you, I love this guy. I really love him. And he's crazy about me. So think what you will. And I do intend to spend the rest of my life with him. I have to share him with a whole bunch of people, but anyhow, he said, I have some friends I want you to meet. And he called out musical tones, and some other people encircled in light came. I don't know what to call these people. People ask me, were they saints, were they angels? And I go, uh-huh, yeah, they were saints, they were angels. I don't know. I don't know who they were. At one point, they said to me very early on, would you like to see us in our human form? And I thought, no, I hate human beings, and I never want to see another human being as long as I live. I had reason for this. My experience with human beings had gone bad, so, they said, okay. And I said, and besides, I have never seen people as beautiful as you are, because these people were, they're the ultimate Christmas display. We want to get some of these angels down here and put them out in our front yard. And that would win us the prize for the community Christmas display, because these people are gorgeous. All this colors and light that don't exist, and they're just gorgeous. They're beautiful. And I'm talking about a professional artist's opinion here, not just some layperson. Angels are good looking. And one of the things that happened was at some point I realized my nakedness. And so I started standing like this. And they said, you look awfully uncomfortable. And I said, I'm naked. And they said, we know. And I said, well, I'm embarrassed. I don't want you to see my thing. And they said, we've seen your thing. And they said, it's not special. That hurt. By all that's holy, I'm telling you the truth. You may not believe it. See, God, angels, Jesus have absolutely nothing to prove. They are very clear on who they are. We're the ones that are confused. We're the ones with all the screwy ideas about we're not good enough, or, God would never love me, or, we're the ones with all these, ridiculous ideas. And so they just come on just regular. People think that, when you, get in touch with the divine, it's going to be Charlton Heston, my culture hero. I'm sure you all love him. Yeah! They'll take this gun out of my hands. Gotta get serious here. We have been lied to about God. With movies like the Ten Commandments. God's not like that. Jesus isn't like that. The angels aren't like that. They're nice. They're loving. God is a God of justice and a God of mercy. But the justice is not like our arbitrary justice system. And I do want to get to that in a few minutes. And it should be pretty soon. They said, we want to show you your life. I'm a narcissistic, egotistical SOB. So I'm like, yeah, let's see my life. Now that would be, fun for all of us to watch. So they start showing my life. And little baby Howard comes to Howard Sr. and Wilmer Storm, and they are so happy because they've had 2 girls and now they got the boy, and sorry ladies, but people like to have both kinds. And so they're real happy to have the boy, and my sisters were forced to coo and, adore me and stuff like that. I mean, things are looking really good in my life review, these things that they're showing me, because everybody's, Howard Storm is born, Jr. And great happiness and celebrating and much love. And I'm watching my childhood and things are going pretty good, and it's like, Jesus is happy, the angels are happy, I'm happy, Howard and Wilmer are happy, everybody's happy, everything's good and lovey-dovey, and then things start going south for a variety of reasons. And now there's some crying, and there's some hitting, and there's some cussing, and these things are painful to Jesus and the angels. And then one of the things that I see happen is, although I had always understood my life as being the victim of a psycho-demonic father, what they were showing me is that my father needed my love. And because he had been mean to me, I withdrew his love, my love from him. And my father wasn't really great in terms of social interactions. And as he reached out to me and tried to win my love and our relationship back in his own inimicable, clumsy ways, I found as a boy, as a teenager, that it really hurt him by denying my love and withdrawing from him. And so we got a nice thing going. We had a beautiful thing going. Me hurting him, him hurting me. Really blew my mind because I thought it was all about me being the victim. And what they were showing me was like it was a mutual killing society, killing each other emotionally. I'm not going to go through my whole life, but I want to tell you a few things. They showed me clearly that they brought this absolutely babylicious young lady into my life to love me. And I thought, sex opportunity here. Kind of missed the whole love thing. She wanted to love me, and I wanted to have sex, but worked to my advantage, Worked to my advantage. We got married, but I didn't appreciate what I had and what I still have, 39 years. God's like, how do I get through to this jerk and teach him about the love thing? I'll try the standard issue baby and see if having a baby, giving love, receiving love, that'll get through this hardcore idiot. Those aren't God's exact words, but it's his sentiments. And God gave us a baby, my daughter, Reese. And I thought, ooh, trophy baby, how cool. Baby behave or you get smashed. That's how my dad did it, and that's how I was going to do it, more or less, with a little less violence than my father used. We get another baby, same thing, another trophy baby, something to make me look good, but not something to really, really hardcore just love it for its own sake. It had to perform like a little dancing monkey, People would come over and I'd make my kids perform for them to show what clever children I had. My kids still are scarred by that stuff. I get a good job, but it's only the job is about serving me. As I watch my life go on, instead of the fun and the joy and the love, what I see is a successful American. I was the American dream. I was cruel, self-centered, and very successful. And my whole culture told me that I was doing good. And nobody and no cultural item, book, movie, magazine, was telling me otherwise. Our culture is Jack London, rugged individualism. I mean, you're all up here in the Northwest. This culture is about being a rugged individualist, never needing any help from anybody, and being the biggest bad bear in the woods, and and getting as much as you possibly can. Now, if you're real crude and stupid, it's just money. But if you're smart, it's prestige, it's power, it's fame. That's the really good stuff. The money is only a means to get to those things. And in my profession, the ultimate goal, someday there would be a big, huge, oversized, 20-pound, colored pictured book with on the back spine, Howard Storm, painter. And I would be another Picasso or something. That's what I was going for. I have my sights for that. If any of you are musicians or theater people and stuff like that, you know exactly what I mean. It's real clear what you're after. You know exactly what you're going after. And you know that you got to step over some people to get there. Nobody was ever successful in this world in any field without being cruel about it, Or that's what the culture teaches. It's not true, but that's what our culture teaches us. It was very, very, very painful to see that, and it was very painful for Jesus to see it and to feel it, and for the angels to see it and feel it, and they shared their pain with me. See, when people talk about judgment, they think that you're going to go on trial and this big search for the truth. And my wife's an attorney, anybody that knows anything about the law is not about truth. The law is about the law. And the more clever attorney wins by manipulating the law to successfully represent their position in the case. That's what the law is about. There's no truth in our justice system. And if you go to an attorney or a judge or anybody that knows anything about law and start using the truth word, they'll laugh at you. What truth? You can't get at the truth. In the light of God, in the light of Christ, that's all there is just the pure, unvarnished truth. The judgment is, you got to look at what you did, baby. That's what you got to look at, and that's your judgment. And that's why those people are down in the dark, gnawing on each other, because they can't bear the truth, and they never want to see the truth. I'm speculating now. I'm speculating. The day that they decide to accept the truth is the day they can go to light. That day may never come. Hopefully it'll come sometime. But you can fall in love with torment and darkness and hate and cruelty too. And they may want to go that way. Their judgment, the judgment on you and me and everybody, is you're going to get exactly what you deserve. You're going to get exactly what you wanted. You're going to get exactly what you've lived your life for. You're going to get it. I asked over and over again, please stop this, please stop this, please stop this. I can't take it, I can't take it, I can't bear it. And they said, you need to see this, you need to understand this. This is really, really important for you to understand this. And finally we got to the contemporary time. And I was so glad it was over, and they said, do you have any questions? I said, I got a million questions. And they said, what would you like to ask? So I asked them every question that I could think of at that time. So when we go to the Q&A period, which will be fairly soon, if I stood here and said, I asked this and they answered this, this would go on for days and days and days. So I'm going to respond to the questions that you asked me rather than sort of trying to guess what it is you're interested in, because I don't know. I do want to tell you that the best teachers in the world, I was a professional teacher, I've had a lot of teachers, and these people really know how to teach. They are clear, they're honest, they're straightforward, they're direct, and if you don't get it, they take it down a notch and try again. They use lots of audiovisual aids. Instead of having slides and DVDs, this I don't know. I don't know whether we went to the places that we were talking about or whether they recreated very realistically the places that we were talking about. But when we talked about the past, we were there. When we talked about the future, we were there. I was at Treblinka when they were unloading people off trains and taking them to the gas chamber. I'd been there with Jesus and the angels. Probably the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my life. Because not only were we there amongst them, invisible, but we were experiencing it all. I've been to the future, but I don't know which of the futures that they showed me is the one that's going to happen. So I don't know, I'm not real clear which is, because we can all change the future like today, tonight, tomorrow. I don't know what it's going to be, but they showed me worst case and they showed me best case. And I'm hoping for the best case, because the worst case is awful, worse than you might imagine. And I want to be a person of hope. I don't want to be. I'm not interested in being the prophet of gloom and doom. We got to the end of the Q&A, and I said, "I'm ready to go to heaven. I want to go to heaven." And they said, "You're not going to heaven." I'm like, "What?" Because we had talked about heaven, and they had shown me about heaven. I mean, I don't know whether we were in heaven or whether they just showed me what heaven was like, but it was a huge disappointment. And so I argued as ferociously and as strongly as I possibly could. Just very, very briefly, some of the arguments that I made was my happiness is to be with you guys in heaven. And they would say, "But we've explained to you that your job is your wife, your kids, your mom, your dad, your sisters, your colleagues at school, the students that you work with. That's your J-O-B job that you were created to do. And you need to do it." And I said, "You've always been with me, right?" They said, "Right." And I said, "You've always been with them, or somebody's always been with them, right?" "Right." I said, "You take care of my wife, my kids, my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother, and I'll go to heaven. And I know that you'll do a way better job than I ever did, because I didn't do a very good job." And they said, "We know, we understand that, but it's not our job, it's your job. You need to do your job. And you need to do your job before you ever go to heaven. Because that's when, God had a job for you to do, and you got to do your job if you want to go there and have fun for the rest of your eternal life." And I would say, here's a good argument. You might try this with better success than I had. I said, when I was in the world, I made lots of mistakes. And I don't want to come back and do all this again. I don't want to go to the place that I was down there. I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to look at a life review with all the pain that I've experienced looking at the life that I've led. And I said, "Do you think if I go back I'll make mistakes?" They went, "Oh yeah, you're going to make mistakes." And I said, "So why would you kick me back to a place where I'm imperfect as opposed to allowing me to go to a place where I will become perfect?" Makes no sense to me, right? Isn't that compelling? I thought it was. And they said, "Look, there's some problems with the argument. First of all, mistakes are opportunities for you to learn how to live a better life. They aren't that big a deal. The problem with you is you liked your mistakes so much, you just kept making the same mistakes because you liked the results." And I said, "Well, okay, that's sort of true." I said, "What would I do with my mistakes?" And they said, "Don't keep making the same mistakes. Try to think of better ways to do things." And I said, "But there's still mistakes." And they said, "Yeah, but there's a way to eradicate them." And I said, "What's that?" And I said, "Admit the mistake to God, honestly. Say you're sorry, and truly intend not to make the mistake again." And I said, "Okay, what's that going to get me?" And they said, "Next time you have a life review, it's not in there. Even the consequences of what you've done are going to be partially eradicated from the entire, cause and effect interaction of the whole universe." And I said, "I can go back and clean up my record anytime I want to? Do you remember the permanent record that you were threatened with when you were in elementary school and high school? Well, that was a lie. There was no permanent record. Do you know there was none? But it is not a lie. It is true that there is a permanent record now. And all the angels are recording everything that we think and do. But if you want to clean it up, which I'm certainly interested in doing, maybe you're so goody-goody you don't have to do it, but I have to. No, that's fine, yeah. All of his sins are on one little note card. He's been very scrupulous about it. You take it to God, say, God, I am truly sorry, or whatever, any way you want to say it. I'm not trying to give you a formula. God, I'm really sorry, and I'm going to try and make my mistakes differently in the future. I'm going to try and do things better. Good. You know. And I'm trying to tell you that, like, it's not easy. You know, it's like I've been married 39 years, and I'm still trying to learn simple things like don't yell at your wife. She doesn't like it. You know, I mean, I don't know why I can't learn these things. You know, I do so well for months. It's like a dog that's housebroken, but every once in a while he forgets. You know, it's like that's what I am. I want to treat my wife with all love and all understanding and respect and compassion. Every once in a while, I just slip up and become abusive. You know. But the mistakes are not that big a deal. You know what is the big deal? Heart intention. And this is what Jesus knows and that nobody in the world knows. Heart intention. Your intention in your heart to do good. Even if you make a mistake, if your heart intention was a good intention, but you did badly, God is ultimately very, very pleased. Because God knows how fallible we are, and God wants us to try to do the right thing. But you know, the right thing is like, and this is a ludicrously simple example, but the right thing lays somewhere on one of these fingers. And so, you know, you try this one, mistake, 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 good. A woman called me up the other day. I was telling her we're having some problems in my marriage because of stuff that's going on. And she said, have you tried being sweet to your wife? And I said, no, I haven't tried that yet. And she said, listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. Be sweet. She said, can you say that? And I said, be sweet. And she said, can you remember that? Be sweet. So now that I'm with my wife all the time, I'm going, be sweet, be sweet, be sweet. And you know what? It's really, hey, you guys, I got a clue. Really works. Instead of trying to straighten her out all the time and you know, introduce her to higher realities and things like that, just be sweet. And the response has been great so far. I'll let you know if it doesn't work. I said my final argument. This was the biggie. This was the ace I've been hiding up my sleeve. I said, you can't send me back. And they said, why? And I said, I called them guys. It's a guy thing to call them guys. And that meant we were really bonded. I said, you guys, I've never known anybody that loved me like you did. I've never known anybody that knew me like you did, because you know me better than I know me. And I said, if you send me back, it'll kill me. I will die of a broken heart. And they said, you're not paying attention. Has there been a moment in your life when we have ever been apart from you? When you have ever been alone or separated from us? I went, no, but like I never saw you, I never talked to you, I never felt you. Is it going to be like that when I go back? And they said, it's going to be exactly like that. And I said, well, it's kind of like being alone when you can't see, hear, feel, taste, touch. You know, the person who's with you, it's like they're not there. You know, it feels lonely. And okay. And I said, that would kill me in loneliness to be apart from you. And I said, there is a way to get in touch with us. And I said, how do you do that? And they said, be still, get quiet, talk to us, tell us everything you want to say, then be really quiet and still and invite our love into your heart. And you'll know that we're right there. And you'll know our love right there. This works. It really works. Get it all out. Tell him everything. You know, it would sound something like this. Lord, I'm really concerned about the toe fungus in my right toe because the medication I've been using has been totally ineffective. And I think I kind of blew it with my spouse today because I yelled at them and slammed the door when I left home. And I should have said, I love you. And why am I so stupid? And what are you going to do to get me to say I love you instead of slamming the door and acting like a, truculent child? And God, I didn't take a telephone call at my office because I didn't want to talk to this person because they're obnoxious. But maybe I should have talked to them, and maybe the fact that they're obnoxious is that they have a need that maybe possibly I could be sympathetic to and listen to and help them in some way. And, all the trivia. Do you believe that? I bet you don't believe that God, Jesus, the angels want to know the trivia of your life. You're wrong. They want to know. They want to know everything. They want to know your hopes, your fears, your mistakes, your successes. When you get through that, whatever it is that comes out of your mind, that comes out of your heart, and you give it up to God, this is just sort of clearing the decks so that you can listen. That's why you're doing this. Because they already know all this stuff. But they're not bored, but they already know. After you've cleared the decks, listen. Feel. Open your heart up. I think the people in my church are pretty tired of well, I was talking to God on Thursday and he told me that this scripture means. I say that all the time, and I'm sure the people in my church are going oh, the wacky preacher. But it's true. I talk to God all the time and God talks to me. Sometimes when I talk to God and ask God a question, I don't get the answer right away. Sometimes it might take a week, sometimes it might take a month, sometimes it might show up in the person of somebody who I'm not expecting, and it's not until 2 days later that they were God showing up and giving me the answer that I've been asking for. It comes in all kinds of crazy ways, but God always answers everything. Not always the way that you expect, not always the way that you want, but always answers everything. God has answered many of my questions with a smile of a loving face. I'm going to ask God some big theological question or a stupid practical question, and somebody will show up and they'll give me a look and I know the answer. It's just all of a sudden it's crystal clear what it was I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to know. I'm just by somebody, nonverbal, but I find the answers chiefly through other people. And so I try to associate with good people. Not necessarily smart people, not necessarily pretty, although I like them pretty. People. Good people, bad people, alcoholics, drug users, experienced clergy, inexperienced clergy, lay people, people in the hospital. A lot of times that's where I find the answer. I have the big aha, eureka experience where God's really speaking to what it is I've been seeking. After the experience, it was really hard to know what to do with it, but the good thing is that Jesus and the angels kept showing up for a while right after the experience, a lot, more than daily. They were coming several times a day. I could not deny the experience. I could have denied the experience if they'd never shown up afterwards, but they kept showing up afterwards while I was conscious and awake, and I was like, apparently it was real because they're here again, I have no doubt in my mind about the reality of what I experienced. I don't know how it happened. Maybe I never went anywhere and God just went, boom, there's an experience for you, deal with that. Maybe God took me out of that hospital room and I walked down the hall with those dark people and into the darkish, hellish place. Maybe not. It is utterly insignificant to me. There is no correlation between this experience and a dream. There's no correlation between this experience and hallucination. It's in a category of supernatural, mystical experiences, which lots of people have. I think that one of the reasons why God gave me this experience was because I was a real hard case, but God saw something really good underneath the hard shell. And God said, I am going to bring that goodness out, one way or another. And I think another reason why I had this experience was Sister Mary Dolores, who was a nun who had had in class in 1972-73, had been praying for me for 13 years and had the whole friggin' convent praying for me. And that's totally unfair, and I think that should be against the rules to get a... And when I saw her after this experience, and I said, Sister, something has happened. I have met Jesus Christ. She said, yeah. She said, I wonder why it took 13 years of praying to get this. That's what she said. I wonder why it took 13 years. She said, do you know how many people I've had praying for you every day? 13 years of this just to get you here. I mean, she was so totally non-impressed. Because Sister Dolores knows, I don't know how she knew this, but she knows if you just bang at the door of God long enough, sooner or later, you know. I don't know why it takes continuous prayer to get some results. You know, all of us think, well, I'll pray once, good enough, you know, up to God. But so I don't understand the whole pray always, pray without seeing. I have been, I've made gazillion mistakes. I've been doing the best that I can. I went from being a college professor, as Kim said, and I went to seminary. Hey, don't hold this against me. I went to a Methodist seminary. And it was a great experience, and if I could have stayed there the rest of my life, that would have been my preferred scenario, because people that go to seminary tend to be really cool, caring people. And you don't go to a seminary to get faith. You don't get any faith in seminary. Matter of fact, people who don't have much faith find they have no faith when they go to seminary. You go to seminary to wrestle with your faith and have your faith hammered and beaten up and clogged and understood and misunderstood until you really define what it is you do believe in. That's what seminary does. And it's a wonderful experience of people interacting and exchanging. And my best friend was an American Baptist, and we were always arguing because we saw things a little differently, and it was just great. And I've been serving a church ever since, and that led me 4 years ago, although I'm still serving my church, I have given notice of my retirement because God has led me into a Mayan village in Belize, Central America, to work with those people, and I've become conflicted between my duties as a pastor and my sense of what needs to be done with my brothers and sisters in Belize, who are, by the way, the coolest, nicest people on this planet that I've ever met. They are only lacking one thing, money. They're lacking money to a fault, you know, not enough to eat sometimes, you know. But anyways, it's been absolutely the gift that's beyond any price. I am, and I'm conscious of where I am far wealthier than Bill Gates. I don't know the man, and I'm not saying this, I don't know anything about him, but compared to what I have, he is dying of starvation and malnutrition unless he has what I have. I have the pearl beyond price, the treasure that was hidden in a field, and it hurts because I can't give it to you, because it's not mine to give. All I can do is tell you where to get it. And I wish, I pray, and it ain't happening, that I could go around and hand out this treasure, because I would give it to you in a second if I could. And that's just not the way it works. The way it works is all I can do is point in the right direction to God. And in the way that you find God, because I don't know you well enough, and I don't know your heart well enough to tell you exactly how to do it. It's your own adventure. And isn't it not probable that that's what we're all here for, is to find God, each of us supporting and loving and helping each other to find God, respecting each other's uniqueness and individuality, and not finding God without thinking that God can only be found in a cookie-cutter way. Now, Lisa was telling me that probably being a liberal Presbyterian would be the best way, but I'm not sure she's right.
Knee-jerk liberal.
Knee-jerk liberal, yeah. And I can promise you that the United Church of Christ isn't for everybody. I wish it were, but I mean, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Although, we do have our good points. But I know what you're going to find when you find God. And you're going to find a God of mercy and love and justice. And if you get nothing else from me being here today, that's what I would encourage you. Many of you already know God. Keep helping your brothers and sisters in their journey. The rest of you, there's plenty of people out there that would like to help you find the way. And that way is all the love in the world, all the hope in the world, all the truth in the world, all the goodness in the world, all the beauty in the world.